back to another episode of Cheers PA Beer Talk. I'm your host, Maalik Stark, and today we have a very special guest. But before we get into that, I'd like to give a huge shout out to the PLCB for making this show possible. And be sure to check out new episodes every other Thursday, wherever you get podcasts. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook at cheers_PA. And without further ado, Chris Rommel from Bierhall Brewing.
Hey guys, how's it going? Nice, thanks for having me, Maalik.
Oh yeah, no problem, man. How are you?
Good, man. I'm having a great day. How's everything going on your end?
Everything's good. So, yeah, we just want to talk about Bierhall. So I guess the first question is, when did Bierhall become a thing? Like, when did you all open?
So Bierhall is my brother and myself, and we opened for business last November in 2023. But it's been a thing of ours for a while before that. We've been probably in planning since probably 2019. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
And with that planning process, like, was that more so like finding a space or writing a business plan? Like,
A little bit of both. I mean, for us, we were, I guess I moved back to the area. My brother lived here in Lancaster, and I moved back to the area in 2019. And we knew this is what we wanted to do when my wife and I moved back to Lancaster. So when we did that, we kind of like started looking for a location to do this, and started writing a business plan at the same time, kind of in tandem. But finding a spot was a little more difficult than we had anticipated. So it was a little bit longer of a time than we expected before we got open. But once we found the space, it was kind of full speed ahead because we had everything else already set up.
oh, sweet. I know you said that you had moved back to Lancaster. Where were you before then? Were you in beer before then, or?
Yeah, so I've been in beer for a while. I was actually I started out brewing here in Lancaster with Springhouse back when they were in a barn, and then I moved to Philly with my wife, and I worked for Yards for a little bit. I worked for Philly Distilling, and then my wife moved us to Richmond, Virginia, and I worked for Hardywood for a couple years, and then I ran Ardent Craft Ales. And then I worked a little bit for Reservoir Distilling before we moved. Before we moved back to Philly for a year, and then back to Lancaster. So I've been doing this for a little bit, and kind of like on the journey, picked up a lot of really interesting, I guess viewpoints and like how to make beer. So I worked with a lot of cool people. And when my brother and I had the opportunity to do this, we kind of jumped at it.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I feel like I hear a lot of people like not have that as much experience as you, like as far as like working for different places. And so like before you actually got into it, were you like the typical like home brewer, and then you were like, I'm gonna go find a brewery to work for, or like what was that?
Well, so I started out home brewing. Yeah, I mean, like I think everyone does. I don't know anyone. To be honest, I don't know anyone in the industry who hasn't started out home brewing. But so I started doing that for a little bit. I was living in Westchester, Pennsylvania, and home brewing with a couple buddies there, and then I was working a bunch of different like random jobs, and ended up on the phone with Dick Yingling through a family friend, and he kind of convinced me that maybe beer school would be an interesting use of my, I guess, like my current education. And so pretty quickly after that, I was, in Chicago for a couple months, and then in Germany for almost 2 years for beer school. And then that kind of paved the way for me to like be working in the industry.
Oh, wow. So you actually, obviously like Bierhall has a huge like German theme, like a German beer hall kind of thing. Is that?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
assume that has to be where it came from. Was your time there?
Yeah, so living in Germany for 2 years and like going to school there has a big influence on what we do here. So we do a lot of lager styles. We do, and the some of the other styles we do, like our other flagship is a Hefeweizen. We do a Berliner Weiss. We also do a lot of American and English styles as well. We do a brown ale, a mild. We do IPAs, West Coast, East Coast, everything in between. But a lot of our stuff is very German inspired, and the stuff we do that's German, we try and keep very traditional. We use German malt, we use German hops, and we brew it traditionally. So
That's awesome. And you do either all or most of the brewing there?
oh yeah, I'm the only person here that really does any work in the brewery. I have Brittany, who's one of our bartenders. Shout out Brittany, she's amazing.
Yeah.
She helps me out in the brewery a little bit. I'm starting to kind of educate her and teach her how things work back here. And she's a great understudy, and she's been grabbing the wheel with both hands and really moving forward with it. So it's a pleasure to have her back here, and when she can fit it in her schedule. But other than Brittany washing kegs and helping me, on a brew day here and there, learning what to do, it's just me.
Wow. Is that you're the one that has all the interest in that?
Well, I mean, my brother runs the other side of the business, so he runs the tap room and the business side of things. So someone has to pay the bills and that kind of stuff. So it allows me a lot of freedom to create the beers and really maintain the quality of the program we have here. And it's, I guess, for lack of anything else, I'm just, if anything goes wrong in here, I know what happened because I did it.
Yeah.
And if anything goes right in here, I know what happened because I did it.
Yeah.
so it just allows me starting out for us, it allows me a extreme level of control on our process to really dial the beers in and the system in, because I know exactly what happened each time. So this, having brewed a lot of other places, I know the equipment that you work on is really, it makes a big difference, and it can be finicky, and you have to really know it inside and out to make a quality product. So that's kind of what the focus has been on here in the first, 6-10 months for us, is to be, really executing the product we want as we learn the nuances of the equipment that we have here, because this is all new equipment to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
So,
and back to the space, whenever you all found that space, did it already come with this can hold all the ideas we have as far as making it an actual traditional German beer hall, or was there a lot of reconstruction with it?
this building used to be a nightclub. Since I guess the 60s or 70s, it was the Jukebox nightclub. And then after that, for 2 or 3 years before us, it was Club 23, another nightclub. So to get it from a nightclub to a beer hall took a ton of work. And again, shout out to Benchmark construction team. They really kicked ass for us. Can I say that on a podcast?
I think so.
It's the internet, right? But they did a great job for us, and I mean, this place was totally different. And everyone who comes in here who used to come to the old the previous 2 locations has comments what a difference this place is. We cut in a bunch of windows, so there's a ton of natural light, and we redid the bars. We redid pretty much it was a complete retrofit of the building. From the kitchen to the dining area to the space where the brewing areas had to be almost not added, but we tore down this whole space where I'm standing right now, where the brewing area is, and then built up so we could fit the brewing area in. But we also had to pour. I'd have to go talk to the construction guys, but we poured a bunch of concrete to hold the weight of all the tanks.
Yeah.
So the floor is all new, and I think it's 12, 18 inches of concrete deep. But Benchmark Construction did a great job for us. But the building's completely new. All the kitchen equipment is new. All the brewing equipment is new. But yeah, it's been a real labor to get here with all the construction and the new equipment and that kind of stuff. But it's been a lot of fun these like past 10 months to really, um, you know, see people come in and enjoy it.
Mhm. And with you said you all opened in November. Are you all like, there has to be like a huge thing coming up for Oktoberfest then, right? Like the
Yeah,
first
absolutely.
October in
Keep
this
your eyes
case?
out. Yeah, keep your eyes out. We're about to drop all the info for Oktoberfest, but we have everything lined up. Like we'll have like an Oompa band. We'll do the Stein holding. We'll do some pretzel toss. We'll do like, so we got a bunch of like games like set up to like entertain
Hmm.
people, and we have a fest beer in the tank. So we have plenty of beer. We'll have plenty of activities and entertainment. But the fall is going to be a big stretch for us. We have again Oktoberfest coming up, which will be at the end of September. As you know, in Germany, traditionally, Oktoberfest was at the end of September to celebrate the coming of October. So we're going to try again, like we try and do the German stuff, like traditional by the book over here. So we're going to try and do the same thing here. And then we have a community day with the fire guys across the street. There's an awesome fire station across the street, Man Township Fire. Uh, um, Township Township Fire Chief over there, Scott Little. Those guys are awesome.
Yeah.
We're hosting a Touch a Truck Day with them um, in October, early October, where they're going to bring the trucks over here and put the ladders out so kids can check it out and
Oh,
that kind of
wow.
stuff. Big community day, and then we'll have our anniversary party in November.
Oh,
And then
wow.
obviously following up is like, Thanksgiving and Christmas. So we'll have a bunch of stuff for that. So it's a big stretch for us in the fall. So fall's like hectic for us. We've never done it before, but it's going to be hectic.
Yeah, no, I could imagine. Like you said, like, I mean, just being open since November, like I don't want to say you missed that, but just like the start of that had already passed whenever the doors open. So, that gives you like a whole year
Yeah,
to plan.
yeah, exactly. We really tried to like get the construction schedule so that we could open for Oktoberfest, but we just, there was a lot of delays on the real estate side of things with like closing on the building and that kind of stuff. So as hard as the construction guys work to like stay on schedule, which they like, surprisingly enough, you never hear anyone say like their construction project was on schedule. Ours was, but unfortunately the real estate side of things kind of like lagged behind, and there's nothing you can really do about that. So we weren't able to open for Oktoberfest, but we had a bunch of plans for it. Then they just
Yeah.
carried over to this year. So
And you said you are originally from Lancaster?
absolutely. So my parents, their first house was like half a mile from the brewery. So I used to like uh, gather up with the kids in the neighborhood in the parking lot back when it was the jukebox, and this is where we like all meet up because no one was here during the day because it was like a nightclub spot. So like, I'm pretty familiar with the area. So it was like pretty nice to come full circle and end up being able to put the brewery in this location.
So like living in that like area and community, I'm sure that gives you like an upper hand as far as like knowing what that community is about and how they would respond to like having a brewery in that area.
I think so. I really feel like being from here really connects us to the area and allows us to, you know, I guess like understand a little bit more of our customers
Hmm.
than if we like weren't from the area. I know a lot of the people that come through here. I've met previously in different walks of life, so it's really fun to see, you know, the brewery become a kind of like a community meeting spot, which was kind of our goal. Uh,
Yeah.
the idea behind a beer hall is to like kind of foster community and foster neighbors meeting up, and that's really what we've like achieved here. So it's a nice bonus to see when neighbors come in and bump into each other and are able to get a beer here,
And
whether it's in the
even
beer garden or inside at the beer hall style tables.
and even with the like that German theme has like I'm really impressed by it because a lot of things will be like named like, oh, this is like German inspired. Like you really did your research and came back with a lot of stuff because even down to like the food. Like I said, I was there on Friday. Had
Oh,
a
nice.
huge pretzel. Like a huge pretzel, that was
Uh,
fantastic. Like I am,
oh,
yeah,
awesome.
I'm a sucker for all of that stuff. Like as far as like running the kitchen and making sure it's as authentically like German as like the beer side and the front of house side. Like, how did that come about? Like, you're just like, this is what we have to do, or what?
That's kind of like was a challenge for us because the kitchen and the food side was a bit of a blind spot coming into it. Like we knew, like I know the brewing side pretty well. My brother is going to handle the business side, but uh, the kitchen was something we had like combined almost no experience in. Um, so going into it, knowing that we knew nothing about it, we hired a consultant. If you've ever been downtown to Philadelphia, there's a place on South Street called Brauhaus Schmitz, which is a German style restaurant, very authentic.
Okay.
But I used to live in Philly. I used to go there all the time. It was like one of my favorite spots. And when we moved to Lancaster, a friend of a friend introduced us to the guy who was the head chef and kind of opened and ran Brauhaus Schmitz for like the first like 12, 15 years it was open.
Hmm.
So his name's Jeremy Nolan, real nice guy. And shout out Jeremy Nolan. Appreciate all your help. But he is a German chef commercially, and he's written a German cookbook called New German Cooking.
Uh-huh.
And so we sat down with him, and our kitchen's not massive. It's a pretty small kitchen compared to the size of our like dining area.
Mhm.
So we sat down with him, and we bought kitchen equipment based on the size of the kitchen and built a menu on that to maximize, what we could do authentically without sacrificing quality or, having massive wait times. So we put a lot of thought into it, and Jeremy helped us out a ton, and he was like really uh, a big help, like not only with like building the menu, but helping us build the kitchen so the menu was, serviceable for large crowds that we were expecting coming in here, like beer hall style
Mhm.
dining. Um, but a lot of the authentic German stuff has been a really big hit because, like you said, like yourself, like there's not a lot around here for that, and it's like large pretzels, coming in here, getting a big mug of beer and like a big pretzel, the potato
Mhm.
pancakes, that kind of stuff. We've had a really positive response with it, uh, you know, and it pleases me because I like to eat the food. So,
Yeah.
uh, but we've had a lot of help in the kitchen. I mean, we've had a uh, great staff, like just knocking it out of the park. I mean, Jeremy laid the groundwork for us, but the staff here has been phenomenal in just like execution. So it takes it takes a lot of work to run a kitchen,
Mhm.
and I knew that going in. But I mean, like obviously, like when you do it firsthand, it becomes very real, and your team is very important. And we have a great team here, and that's kind of like really what helps us, stay consistent and execute these like these kind of unique, I guess, like food items, you know,
Yeah.
day after day.
Yeah, like I said, it was great, dude. I'm like,
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
I've never been there. I feel like I might have driven past it before, but as far as like knowing that it was out there, because I'm originally not from like Pennsylvania, Lancaster, like Harrisburg, the area I'm in, and like I said, like driven past it all day, but just never. I didn't even know Lancaster went out that far. Like when I think Lancaster, I think only the downtown area because that's
Yeah. I mean,
it. But
we're just outside of the downtown. I mean, like we're half a mile from like the city like edge, and I mean, like we use city water, so we're pretty
mhm.
close to like to them. So it's like it. I mean, like I guess when the nightclubs were here, like a lot of the traffic was from downtown, so we're pretty close to downtown.
Yeah, just I'm also not that great at geography, so like it could be a lot of things.
Hey man, well we're glad you came out and enjoyed it. It's like that's the whole point. Was like come out and like sit in the beer hall style seats and like eat a big pretzel, drink a big mug of beer, and have a enjoy yourself.
Whenever you got into like the brewing side of like everything, like do you think that German beer is like kind of more complex to make if you don't have like that experience of being over there?
Uh, I wouldn't say it's like more complex. I think it's just a little more stylistically rigid. They're
Okay.
very um, they're very precise and insistent on the way they do things and how it's done. Uh, and it's just the levels of control that they want to have on things are astronomical. So, and it was really interesting when I was over there because when I was in Germany, part of the program is traveling to see different breweries in different countries to see how they do everything differently. So we went to England, we went to London, we saw a bunch of breweries in England, we saw a bunch of breweries in Belgium, we saw a couple breweries in the Netherlands, and we saw a bunch of breweries in Germany, obviously. But it was always really interesting to see kind of like the yin and the yang of like Germans who are like very stylistically rigid, and it's like it's a science. Beer is a science. It it's a repeatable scientific experiment. And then you get over to Belgium, and the guys are like, yeah, it's like more of an art. Like sometimes we do this, sometimes we do that, sometimes the results are that. Yeah. So, but they again, everyone's making great beer, but the way they, I guess, approach it is different. And I think it's always really interesting to see kind of like again, like I always like view it in my mind like the Belgians are like it's an art. It's an art. You have to put your soul into it and do what feels right. And the Germans are I mean if you don't write it down and quantify what you did and like you can't repeat it next time like why even do it in the first place?
Yeah.
So
I feel like that comes. Like I said, I've talked to a bunch of different like brewers and like owners of breweries, and like it's like either you are on one side of that thing where it's like it's an art, or it's very very technical. So I think that might just translate to just the industry itself at this point.
yeah, I think so too. I mean, but I mean, I think we have industry wide. There's a good mix. I think we've come to a point where the brewing industry as a whole is getting a little tighter, but I think it's not because the beer is bad. I think like there's just like a lot of good beer. So there's competition between like, instead of, years and years ago when it was like, hey, there was one brewery in the area that was like noticeably better than the other. Now it's like, hey, everyone's, you know, neck and neck across the board. Like everyone's making great beer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good place for the beer industry to be in terms of quality.
Yeah. Well, I won't hold you up too much longer. What do you want people to like experience and like feel whenever they come in there? Like if you had to give out one or two things as far as like what you want people to.
Well, when you come to Beer Hall, we want everyone to feel welcome. I mean, like, no matter who you are or what you think, like, Beer Hall welcomes you. Um, and, there is no hate here. It's all love. And that's just what our interpretation of, community and beer is. Uh, when you walk through the door, we want you to enjoy the beer and enjoy the food and, maybe bump into someone at the beer hall style tables, or maybe make a new friend, someone you haven't met before, and you might see them here a second or third time. So the idea behind beer hall is really just like to foster community and, through food and beverage. And, it's always been a kind of like a social lubricant, and we're just, continuing the tradition.
Sweet. Well, thanks again for hopping on this with me. I'm sure I'll make my way back down there soon.
Yeah,
Gotta come
absolutely.
there
Next
all the
time,
time here.
ask for me, man. Next time, I'd love to meet you in person.
All right, yeah, sweet. I definitely will. And
Hey, thanks for having us on. Thanks for having me on, Maalik. I appreciate it. It was nice
yeah,
chatting
no
with you.
problem. No problem. And thanks everybody for listening and viewing this. Check out new episodes every other Thursday, and be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and at cheers_PA. Cheers, man.